Once upon a place,
14 billion years ago.
time and space were one and the same. In a far-off black hole, an explosion of a magnitude almost incomprehensible brought new form into existence. Brought new form into existence. The Big Bang. 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 So the scientists say, although some say a grand designer was behind the plan. They saw no science,
No science.
no patterns,
No patterns.
no natural laws governing life, and deduced superstition. And in any case, this unfathomable explosion changed the atmosphere everywhere. But one place, 10 billion years later, was created out of chaos and landed in the Goldilocks zone. And landed in the Goldilocks zone. Close enough to its sun so as not to freeze, and far enough away so as to not burn up. Yeah, and with enough stardust to begin an experiment called life. Life! Now, how it was that this lucky planet
One of the billions in its galaxy.
Arrived at just the right distance from a sun.
Itself one of the billions and suns in its galaxy.
Is a wonder of cosmic proportions.
For there were also billions of galaxies.
Each with billions of suns and planets.
In this universe. And perhaps multi-universes to boot.
You see, no one knows for sure what happened.
It is all conjecture, built upon heaps of subjective ideas we call either
Science?
Or faith.
Either way, it was a remarkable turn of events that beat odds even the house in Las Vegas would never wager on. But life did, in fact, begin!
Yeah! It's a long story, so to summarize billions of years into a sentence, against all odds, for it hasn't been seen anywhere else.
Yes! The right combination of
carbon
Nitrogen?
and oxygen.
fired the imaginative primordial soup, along with other organic molecules necessary for the recipe.
And cooked itself into a delicious broth.
Out of which cells could divide and multiply.
And yet keep all their knowledge, as each replication kept their earlier knowledge while combined to make a complex organism evolving ever more complex until the most astonishing complexity was born. Life that knew itself as life.
Man!
Well, woman and man.
Well, man really means all these lives that knew itself as life.
Well, it's hard to explain because some say,
Remember the grand designer belief? Man, or should I say male, came first.
and out of this too simple life in incomplete form, the designer thought it needed more to be whole. Well, woman and man, what a man really means, all these lives that it knew itself as
what we call human,
did not always know itself. Only 50,000 years ago did it begin to evolve an executive extension of its primitive brain, the
neocortex, which reasoned and cultivated
Tools.
And
Fire.
And when this happened, life took to the fast lane. And man had an inkling that he could
defeat nature
tame her
And control her.
and make his life better.
safer.
less unpredictable.
and abundantly rich in things that pleased
Now, this pronoun must be male.
Macho man. As the seeds of a civilization were sprouting, alpha males were dominant.
Wait a minute. What about Queen Cleopatra?
Yeah! She ruled the world as a teenager.
And she was a woman.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't fit the narrative of patriarchy.
Well, maybe that narrative is wrong.
You're gonna get killed by the PC police.
Oh my god, I'm so sick of PC this, PC that!
Yeah, let's just get real.
Amen. I mean, did anyone think that maybe, just maybe, women felt their role and meaning in life was raising children? And breastfeeding was the only nutrition for a baby, and that could last 4 or 5 years.
Oh my god, that is so sexist.
Yeah, but I'm a woman.
Oh, right.
But today, it don't matter, girl. You can be black and still be called a white supremacist.
Hey now! We're getting ahead of ourselves.
True, sexism and race and gender construction and the rest weren't even invented yet.
Back to early man!
At this point in the story, men were in charge, and women did nothing to stop this charge at nature.
Actually, women were probably happy as a clam.
What?
Real history shows that throughout early humankind, mutual aid was the custom.
Really?
What we call savages!
And barbarians. And primitives.
Actually lived in harmony with mutual aid.
I can believe that. I mean, if everyone was out for number one, nobody would have survived.
Hey, can we move on now?
Sure, the fast lane, the superhighway into the omnipotent future, really took off when the radical change to nature occurred 10,000 years ago.
Well, actually, there's evidence that it was thousands of years earlier.
Dude! Listen, we can't keep revising history if we want to tell our story.
Right. Gotcha. Yes, it was 10,000 years ago that man discovered the original path to abundance. Agriculture! Dig it!
Now, a man could sit in one place and live without nomadic unpredictability. Man would now travel for curiosity,
Well,
not necessity.
man would also travel to take what he valued from the land and bring it home.
Oh, also, man would travel to conquer other life, and it didn't matter if it was.
Animal.
Vegetable.
Or mineral.
It was all good.
Upon sitting in one place, man now had a place to call home.
Well, man always had a home on his land, as he was home everywhere. And he shared his home with all the creatures. It was one big home.
Yes, but a home where man could grow food. And grow even more food. Enough to feed others. Which meant he needed others to till the soil. To feed the others was definitely preferable than working.
Now, man could not only conquer and control nature, now man could conquer and control other animals and other men and women.
Where once there was an incentive to cooperate and share one's food with others.
For if the day came when your family had no food, you could be sure your clan members would share their food. For how else would man survive without cooperation?
Mutual aid!
Duh.
Agriculture changed the rules. Men didn't need to cooperate as much as hoard.
Yes, 10,000 years ago, as the dawning of agriculture took place, life on this planet changed dramatically. And the irrevocable choices of man led to the
Dawning of civilization!
The great work of mankind! C!
I-T!
Why? See!
If now could sit and make his home immobile, stationary, and permanent, so could others. And as most men found it useful to live near water, many gathered in the same place, and up sprouted a town.
Until towns were plenty! And now that men were property owners, they had to protect their property.
For the hoarding spirit now dominated the cooperative spirit.
No longer could man be trusted in the same way, for the incentive to steal was now greater than ever.
Property owners? This is another one that's hard to explain. Men didn't really own the property.
What?
They just thought they did. They made it up out of thin air.
A new idea, to possess my space as my territory.
It's impossible. Who owns it when the owner dies?
Well, the next of kin, generation after generation until you trump everyone else. Yuck.
And when the sun burns out and Earth is no longer warm enough for life, who owns it then?
Well, at least they thought they owned.
Which goes to show you what we think becomes our reality.
Right! Think racism and sure enough.
Hey! Stop it!
That's what Morgan Freeman says.
But we're talking about property.
Right. Sorry.
Men thought ownership, and thus it began, regardless of whether it defied the gods.
Well, actually, who created the gods but man?
Yeah, true. Someone thought that one up.
Gods early on were many, but that eventually was thought to be superstition and out of vogue.
One god was now preferable.
Unfortunately, not all men agreed upon which god the one god would be.
So lots of fighting happened there.
Hey, no.
I told you it was
Oh, that's another story. Never mind, anyway. For as men hoarded more, men could steal more.
And a hungry man is a desperate man.
And some had! And many did not have. The haves and the have-nots were born!
So now towns were to be decided upon.
Friend.
And
Ally.
or
Enemy threat.
Whatever was decided, it was best to watch your back, for your best ally can quickly turn.
Especially for your meat. Your jewels.
Bling bling.
Your treasures. And most certainly for your
women.
Ah, yes. Even women now were seizing power whenever they could.
Cleopatra, anyone?
Cities became playgrounds for those that owned.
or at least thought they owned.
And to prove it, they made deeds.
Out of paper, which proved they owned.
These landowners saw the advantage they had, and they built their fortresses on the backs of their slaves.
Yes, slaves became very common now. They were part of the
Have not.
Families. Actually, they had not even a life. But
progress
was everywhere!
There was more for all, even as few controlled the all.
There was more food because animals were enslaved as well.
Man knew all too well the foolery of enslaying a lion for meat. So man played it cool and took control of the non-violent types of protein. Cow, pig, goat, and chicken. Alrighty. These vegetarian animals were great nutrition for the next higher up. The food chain was now dominated by man. Chalk up another conquest over nature. Man was confident and feisty.
Onward to bigger ideas!
Like city-states, governing by the ones in power. Oh, of course, the landowners.
you see, now that certain men were rich, they did not need to cooperate, nor did they need others to live. No, the rich needed one thing, others to maintain their stuff.
They had so much more, and it all needed to be cared for.
Care of others became care of things. And at this time, a classic was set. a belief in the righteousness of war against a belief in a commandment to not kill.
4. Killing became a key to survival. The better man was at killing, the more powerful he became. Man began experimenting with murder and unleashed huge armies to kill the other.
Now that other could be close at home or far away in the other city. It did not matter. Ah!
As a matter of fact,
Man would now kill woman.
And kill children.
They showed no bias.
Except a woman could offer great pleasure if forced to before she was killed.
This became the through line to history, and we could summarize the rest of it in a nutshell.
The history of man is the story of war.
How the wars changed the world. Violence tore apart communities and changed who was the dominating class.
While destroying cultures and art. While destroying cultures and art.
Please remember that in every war there is rape. Rape on a grand scale.
Untold rapes that create unwanted children that grow up as unwanted people.
Where do these people go? Where are all the rape babies?
What happened to all the rape babies?
By this time, man was so far from that original cellular division of a unity. Now man was thinking, planning, cunning, and striving for more. Man was separate from nature, no longer so influenced and dominated by the frightening forces of the wild. Man conquered nature into scheming and was outside nature and the laws that governed her. This split was perfected in man's being, the mind split from the body. Man knew, he thought, and therefore knew he was. Thought ruled! Thought ruled! Thought ruled! Thought ruled! Thought ruled! Thought ruled! Heady times were ahead. The body was left behind and became the vehicle to move ahead to the next meeting. Trust can only be found in the reason mind. The body was untrustworthy and needed to be coerced into submission. As time progressed, new ideas sprang forth, and for those privileged few, the cultural advancement was inspiring, and it was bloody. Technology was commissioned by the state or the church, by the state or the church, by the state or the church. Well, either way, it was the same. They were both the ruling halves, and always in cahoots together. Engineering charged on, and science gained steam, and religion stood still.
Dark periods would come and go and progress moved at dizzying speeds until a marvelous set of ideas set the world on fire with one word.
Machine!
Now the separation and alienation from nature could reach its potential.
Yeah! Rock out, baby!
Man could now design, engineer, and build machines that would provide ease of communication and transportation, which would give him more control over life herself.
Having sailed the seas,
Man was ready to motor the lands. Motors need to be bought and sold, like the primitive internet of communication. The telephone.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Well, an easy solution was found.
the assembly line!
Sure. What is it but an extension of the earlier agricultural slave?
Except this time it was much simpler. The slave did not have to move or make any decisions. He just had one thing to do.
It was so effective, the half families even paid the slaves to do it.
See, the assembly line was created for mass production for the new god, profit.
Which prophet?
Not prof-et, prof-it.
Yes, capitalism was the natural path for those who had capital. Of course, those who owned.
Everyone's lives got a little better. But the have lives got a lot better.
Wow, progress was flying.
Actually, flying wouldn't come until a bit later.
Well, time was certainly flying, as in flying by. Time shortened. To tell a landowner in another town about your new invention was only a phone call away. And if you wanted to tell him in person, only a locomotive trip away. Oh, and for the bakers, only an automotive trip away.
Oh yeah, banksters! See, by now, men had accumulated lots of capital.
Well, at least the men who owned,
Who were in that family from the beginning called the haves. See, at this point, to get into that family, either you were born into it or you forced your way into it. The family called the haves. Remember, our history is the story of war. Those great hero generals you hear about. They got rich and got into that family. Thank you very much. In short,
not necessarily in order,
as the family got richer, trading their stuff, the currency traded evolved until it became money.
which was,
Paper,
they knew,
paper,
was worth.
nothing.
The have families decided it would only be worth something if backed by something.
Something real and precious, precious and rare, something rare and real, like gold, gold,
Gold. But gold was heavy.
At least if you had as much as the haves had.
And so the sacred house of the landlords was built. The temple of all temples.
The temple of all
temples.
The church that would come to dominate all progressive societies. The
bank, the bank, the bank, the bank,
Morgan Stanley,
the bank, the bank, the bank.
Go to any city.
Find the biggest bank.
So big.
Who owns the bank?
He's so big. You have just discovered the most powerful man in town. And I can guarantee that that man can be traced back to the original landowners.
If not, he was very clever.
Or very inventive.
Or very dangerously mighty.
Or Bill Gates.
Vaccines, anyone? He's a real virus hunter. Yuck, yuck.
Well, I'd rather get a Microsoft patch than a shot.
And I'd rather have a Bitcoin than a dollar.
Why? I heard Bitcoin is a fraud.
Well, sure, but the government, when they go after your savings, they can't get to your Bitcoin.
Well, gold has historically been a great store of value, so I'll stick to gold.
Sure, go ahead. Gold gets confiscated while Bitcoin can't be. Cyberspace, baby, along with blockchain technology.
Okay then. Well, we're jumping ahead.
First, television needed to be created.
Then the daytime talk show.
Then, new age psychobabble. Dr. Phil, Oprah Winfrey, Law of Attraction, and the rest.
Yes, TV gave unprecedented potential to reach out into the world and tell folks how to live better.
And if one paid close attention to the ad men, one could find happiness by buying it.
Buy the newest car.
The coolest cigarette.
The trendiest clothes.
The a diamond.
And see how wonderful life is when you get what you deserve.
Oh, but so much happened in between the old-fashioned assembly line and the Madison Avenue multi-million-dollar Super Bowl commercial.
But why, sir?
Keep your breast in, Janet.
But, as history is easy to condense,
War!
The last 100 years.
sound off,
Sound off.
1, 2,
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The American Civil War, the Austrian Civil War, the Algerian Civil War, the Chinese Civil War, the Japanese Civil War, the English Civil War, the Finnish Civil War, the French Wars of Religion, yeah, the Greek Civil War, the Salvadoran Civil War, the Indonesian Civil War, the Irish, the Korean, Lebanese Civil War, the Liberian Civil War, hurrah, hurrah, the Mozambique Civil War, hurrah, hurrah, the Russian Civil War, the Gulf Wars, and the Grand Historical World Wars I and II, World Wars I and II. And don't forget Vietnam.
In truth, the last century alone gave us easily more than
100 wars.
But wait a minute! Maybe history is no longer so easy to condense.
Yeah, trying to sort out who won these 100 wars and who owned what at the end.
Well, that part is actually easy. The halves of any side of war.
And who got killed and owned the banks at the end of these wars? It is all very complex now.
For example, Germany was defeated in World War II, but
Not the Nazis!
Their intellectuals and elite, with advanced technology and tremendous wealth, escaped through Vatican rat lines and infiltrated the Americas.
Right! Rockefeller and elites were financing both sides of the war anyway.
Sure, that's true of every war.
That kind of deception is exactly how the Rothschilds became filthy rich.
Oh my god, you guys are just conspiracy theorists!
So, actually, war is like our immune systems.
Huh?
Complex forces fighting to stay alive. They say the inner reflects the outer. Perhaps a way to end war would be to end our immune systems.
But then we will all die!
Either way, death is something man has not yet conquered.
Darn!
even more money in the bank cannot hold back death.
Darn!
Oh, those guys that ended up owning the banks, they too are part of a complex organism. Now they're called
The Central Bank!
You mean Goldman Sachs?
Every country has one.
At least any country worth mentioning.
Which now includes Iraq, Afghanistan, and most Middle Eastern countries!
I wonder how that happened.
And to find out who owns it is indeed a difficult task. But when you take the time to do your research, it can be surprising what you find.
For example, our central bank,
The Federal Reserve!
Was originally owned by a group of men, the haves of Europe, who came to America to build their wealth.
The Rothschild.
And the Warburgs.
Along with the Harrimans and the Rockefellers.
Leading the way. And today, the Rothschild families of immense have ultimately control not only the wealth of the U.S. Central Bank, but the entire world as well.
Why?
because they have a monopoly on the world's gold reserves!
Indeed, the House of Rothschild has central banked us all, owning a 51% stake in the Federal Reserve, for example, all the while staying in the private sector so little public scrutiny can take place.
Just try and buy stock in the Fed.
Sorry, not available to the public.
So you see, money controls others and rules the world.
No good war can be fought without money, no matter how righteous the motivation.
And who makes the money?
And who decides how much money to make?
Well, just think for a moment. The warning of an apocalyptic economic collapse shot out through the world in 2008.
Oh yeah!
Bear Stearns.
The subprime mortgage crisis.
And the credit crisis!
And what did the world do to stop this collapse?
The central banks from all over the world made more money out of thin air!
Paper!
For all the world's economies are fiat today.
What's that?
Which means they aren't backed by anything.
Gold backing was too limiting for the bankers.
And they couldn't pay for World War I.
They wanted unlimited potential to create money, and in time made all Americans turn in their gold.
1933. Eliminated the gold standard. 1971.
We're free to make the dough.
Then they repealed the Glass-Steagall Act.
1999.
What's that?
The law that kept investment banking separate from retail banking.
So
then there was no such thing as safe money in a bank.
Oh, you mean like the Greece bail-in of depositors' money?
Ooh, baby, watch what you say. Get your money out of the bank and be prepared for an American bail-in.
No!
Yep, 2014 G20 law.
Holy sh...
And all this money the Fed created, trillions of dollars, went to the banks.
In other words, the banks made the money and then got the money.
The rich got richer, while the economy and its workers got poorer.
Yeah, same shit is happening today with this pandemic.
Only worse.
Oh, and don't forget about the
Fractional reserve.
I deposit $1 million into my bank to make 3% interest.
Thank you. My bank holds 100,000 in reserve and loans you 900,000
Thank you.
with 6% interest.
Oh. My bank holds 90,000 in reserve and loans you 810,000.
Thank you.
With 10% interest.
Oh. My bank holds 81,000 in reserve and loans you 729,000
Thank you.
with 12% interest.
Oh.
Yada 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 yada
Yada yada yada yada yada yada yada yada. My bank holds 10% in reserve and loans you 90% with interest.
Ponzi
My
scheme.
bank holds
The greatest
10%
Ponzi
in
scheme.
reserve and
The
loans
greatest Ponzi scheme. The greatest Ponzi scheme.
My bank holds
The greatest
10%
Ponzi
in
scheme.
reserve and loans
The greatest Ponzi
90%
scheme.
with interest.
My original $1 million becomes...
$9 million! And the bankers create more money out of thin air.
And where does the money come from to pay the interest?
And the bankers create more money out of thin air.
Now, why you might ask?
Do the workers in the economy remain passive?
To this seemingly inequitable and unjust banking system.
that dominates our planet.
That has eliminated the middle class.
That is about to implode with debt.
Because they are
Lulled into submission. Lulled into submission. Lulled into submission.
by the idea of growth and prosperity. And they are unwilling to risk losing what little they have, even as they are in the have-not families.
The bankers are governed by laws that prevent slaves, so they let the have-nots have little. A nice flat-screen TV, an iPhone, a fancy computer, and they make sure these screens can entertain its watchers right into a hypnotic submission into addiction.
And voila! The economic workers are passive to the system that keeps the rich rich and the poor poor.
What about Occupy Wall Street?
Oh, that sorry movement?
Just like today's movements, when you look closely, you see they're manipulated by the elite.
Oh, another conspiracy theory.
Check it out yourselves. Since ancient times, rulers have known how to infiltrate a revolution and hijack it.
Like the Illuminati.
Oh my God.
Hello. May 1st, 1776, Adam Weishaupt, a professor of law at the University of Ingolstadt, founded the Order of the Illuminati.
Oh.
Now, in truth, some men have risen up to change the monetary system.
One, in fact, had the power to rewrite history, print new money.
And in doing so, make the Federal Reserve dollar worthless, and his new United States dollar the only acceptable money.
But after signing in Executive Order 101110 and printing over 4 billion United States dollars, he was shot.
Dead in the head in Dallas. In 1963.
Just like Honest Abe, who tried to do the same thing and got the same result.
Yeah, Lincoln needed money for the Civil War.
Again?
And the banks wanted 24 to 36% interest.
Whoa! So, Lincoln created paper money and wanted to...
Wait, I also read that Lincoln really believed that blacks were inferior to whites and wasn't really the emancipator we think.
Oh, more revisionist history?
Read his own words. He said he wanted freed blacks to go back to Liberia.
Yeah, he also said blacks and whites shouldn't mix.
Yeah, but so did Muhammad Ali.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he says it's not natural, like bluebirds and robins don't mix.
Well, bluebirds and robins don't mix. But
Okay,
I feel
okay,
like-
let's get on with our story.
Right. Where were we?
Money!
Just like that, over assassinations, over banking, any other man who was powerful enough to make real changes to the system cowered in fear.
Those do not shop till they drop are caught in the web of fear the bankers create to pacify the proletariat.
Fear of war.
Fear of crime.
Fear of poverty.
Fear of disease.
Flu, MERS,
Measles!
COVID!
and these fears are advertised and promoted on our screens, and we are lulled into letting the government protect us. Government protect us. Government protect us.
Help.
Save us!
Wait a minute! Isn't it the government who starts these wars?
And still hasn't fixed the poor?
And fails to keep us safe?
And allows crime to terrorize us?
Well, even more effective than scaring us are the conditioning practices of children.
Education!
Back when the assembly line ruled, children were in factories working with adults. But the unions did not want children taking adult jobs, especially when they would do that job better than the adults could. So they outlawed child labor under the guise of protecting children along with other ideas. Now you had many young people, teenagers, robust in life, needing a place to be. Mass education was born. School! Perfect. Let the government dictate the curriculum. E-I-E-I-O. Remember who controls
assembly line, which will provide the next generation of passive slaves to the economy. All the while, they create an artificial extension to childhood, adolescence, infantilizing the population. Now our post-adolescent 24-year-old children in adult bodies don't know a thing about how to live independently. They live at home or under the veil of helicopter parents' mom, helicopter parents' dad, reading the only book they deem worthy. Reading the only book they deem worthy. Reading the only book they deem worthy. Facebook.
.com.
Like me.
Oh, yes, indeed. Facebook, like Twitter.
And YouTube.
Simply censor what the elite do not want you to see.
Like Amazon, Microsoft, and Walmart, and the other behemoth corporations.
They are all government subsidized.
Through tax breaks and Fed loans and EFT buying.
They are contracted to keep government data.
And they are infiltrated, along with anything important the FBI and CIA want to know about.
You see, so long as the government controls the people will not be free enough to overturn the system.
But what about the protests, huh?
Yeah.
They are government sponsored.
What? What the
Don't think for a minute that the government isn't a shadow group that runs the show from backstage.
Yeah, look this stuff up. Duh.
Duh!
When the government issues the diploma, the public part of education is deceptive too.
Actually, the Rockefeller-Carnegie Foundations pretty much dominate current educational policy.
Like Bill Gates, who gave us Common Core curriculum.
Yeah, but that made math easier.
Yeah, now if you just turn in your assignment, you get an A, even if the answer is wrong.
And the dumb get dumber.
And even though we watch teenagers accomplish feats of mental discipline and strategy, physical prowess and expertise, and championship caliber teamwork and cooperation all on our screens every 2 years in summer and winter, we still believe they are capable of nothing more than to punch the time clock of compulsory school days and cram into their heads the fact they need to learn the system.
And this is exactly how a system can continue. When we all believe without independent thought that
This is how it is.
That has always been.
That's the way people are.
And voila, in one simple statement, we accept, propagate, and submit to how it is.
Ever-expanding war machines that kill and torture.
That's
how it is.
Economies that keep the rich rich and the poor poor while cycling through its artificial booms and busts.
That's how it is.
Education that tests memory and offers little chance at learning.
That's definitely how it is.
Religions that hurt and kill others who do not believe.
And a deep belief that human beings are not trustworthy.
Which keep us in our locked buildings, evermore finding new ways to protect our stuff.
It is, indeed, a bleak picture of the little animal turned human through thousands of millions of years.
On this planet, only 4 billion years old.
From a galactic explosion out in space.
Space so vast, we haven't the ability to comprehend its size, nor do we have the science to be sure.
The one truth we do know is that history is replete with examples of what we thought we knew getting turned on its head. Wrong again!
Yet, deep within these truths, these circumstances of
Pitiful man destroying himself and his home
Lie deeper truths that wise men have seen for centuries,
That scientists are beginning to see.
and that can revolve our brains to see another side, which will provide solutions to our human problems.
for deep within the smallest of small, the minutia of life, lies an interconnected web that bonds all things together.
A field of electromagnetic energy, which is the energy of each and every one of us.
Its truth is self-evident from the fact that we are all made from the same stardust.
The expansion caused by the birth of the universe came in relation to itself, and as it expanded, the whole became parts, and the parts became further parts, and eventually the appearance of so many vast parts appeared to be unrelated and disconnected.
At least to man. The minerals, vegetables, and animals still know their place.
Yet, the deep truth, from the root of it all, is an interdependence that is just and all persuasive.
The justice is the action.
Ow!
And the reaction.
Deep in the quantum universe lies only potential and possibility, waves and particles and probabilities.
And the movement of one iota moves the entire universe.
The wings of the butterfly creates tsunamis on the other side of the planet, which eventually comes back to blow the butterfly.
Now, if we sit and meditate on this idea of complete interconnectedness,
Reversing time.
Traveling backward to where human was only ape. And ape back to reptile. And all the way back to amoeba. Then, the planet itself reversing back to gas. We can see exactly where we came from.
And finally, arriving back to the place where suns and moons and planets and stars were of one. Before the Big Bang, which caused this expansion, we are still a part of.
Yes, a part of. We can now reclaim our larger self. We are
We are all the universe expanding.
While we look and feel separate, we can trace our past into the wholeness before the expansion, where we had no distinction from one another, and we were all the same thing.
From this perspective, our current self-destructive ways are clear.
For we are nothing but one thing spread apart.
when the roots of the tree sprout the beginnings of a trunk, and the trunk expand into branches, and the branches expand into leaves, we still call the parts a tree.
To hurt the leaf
Ow!
is felt by the whole tree.
To slander and slay another is to slander and slay ourselves.
From this belief system, every act is an act towards ourselves.
And if we act in self-preserving
And self-expanding ways.
We will not harm ourselves or others.
Which goes to show you that the mindless rule of childhood,
So empty by adulthood.
So often paid lip service to.
So shallowly thought out.
was the only rule to live by to create a world of one wholeness.
unto others as you shall have them do unto you. You are the other, and the other is you. Do unto others as you shall have them do unto you. You are the other, and the other is you.
In the words of the great astronomer Carl Sagan,
We are one species. We are all star stuff, harvesting starlight. We are all star stuff, harvesting starlight. We are all star stuff, harvesting starlight. Do unto light. We are all star stuff, harvesting starlight. The other is you. We are all star stuff, harvesting starlight.
But wait!
Why, but?
If we're all star stuff harvesting starlight, then how the heck did we end up in this critical, unprecedented moment in planetary history where man can extinct himself and his planet as well?
Yeah, no species has ever had that kind of power.
And no species has ever had their consciousness evolve to this point.
So we evolved our consciousness so well we can extinct ourselves?
well, perhaps in the bigger picture, this is all part of the path to a higher consciousness. Oh, I know. Let's go get our desks. You know, evolution isn't always a smooth line to a better life. Just maybe this destructive tendency of man, this pandemic and our reaction to it, is the path to a better life.
Are we sure? I mean, what if the virus is man-made?
Or, what if there is no virus?
What?
Well, science has its methods that are accepted as gold standards, and this coronavirus hasn't passed the test yet.
Yeah, I heard that too.
That's true. We aren't really sure what this is yet.
Are we ever sure?
Then it is all always conjecture.
Indeed. All we can ever be sure of is, it is all a mystery.
We know we have consciousness, yet we have no idea how it really works.
Just as we have vision, yet we have no real idea of how it happens that we see.
If we look into nature herself,
The only true teacher there is.
We find that change is the constant.
yeah, you know those scientific constants we learn about?
Yeah, speed of light is the constant.
Like the universal gravitational constant.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble again, but as Rupert Sheldrake says, they are regularly adjusted by international committees of experts known as metrologists. The old values are replaced by new, best values based on recent data from laboratories around the world.
Whoa, really? You mean we can't even depend on physics constants?
That's right.
Life is emerging.
Going out.
The Earth's orbital speed around the sun going 70,000 miles per hour.
The sun's orbital speed around the galaxy, 450,000 miles per hour.
And the speed of the ground beneath your feet as a result of the Earth's rotation, 1,000 miles per hour at the equator.
And NASA says the speed of our Milky Way galaxy moving?
1.3 million miles per hour.
We really are expanding.
Moving forward,
At least from our perspective.
What do you mean?
Well, if we really understand what Mr. Einstein said, he told us time is relative.
Time is a construct of our wondrous imaginations.
Time exists as a unity.
Past, present, and future are one.
And the faster we go, the more time slows down.
Until the past is ahead of us.
So, life is like a dream.
Dreams are life.
Wait a minute! What the heck are we talking about?
What we are really saying is that we know so very little.
I mean, now we know computer code.
Oh, binary, like us.
Binary like nature.
How so?
Well, we have this or that, this and that.
We know light from dark,
Binary.
Good from evil.
Binary.
male and female.
What about transgenders?
Well, all good. And XX and XY are still the only binary baby conception we know.
Zeros and ones.
Binary computer code.
Written into the universe. Yes, some physicists like Tom Campbell are seriously theorizing we may live in a nested simulation.
What do you mean nested?
Like Russian Matryoshka or babushka dolls.
Oh, those cool dolls that are enclosed in a larger doll? Like a stack?
Right. We may live in a nested simulation.
Oh, wow. So God might be a computer programmer?
The more we know, the more we discover we don't know.
So, if we stay with the mystery, dance in the unknowing, sing the song of our deeper psyche, we will cultivate openness.
Just as we discovered agriculture and sowed the seeds of materialism, we can sow the seeds of the open mind and liberate our spirits.
We can live the wholeness and include it all. No more separating and fragmenting ourselves.
Oh, sure. Sounds hunky-dory.
But
what if you steal my stuff?
First, look at that word, but. It implies exclusion of what came before the but. I love you, but I don't like the way you eat your food. What do you hear?
The criticism.
However, not but. If you say, I love you, and I don't like the way you eat your food, what do you hear?
The criticism. But, and it still includes the love that came before.
Understanding how we language our talk, the power of words, can move us into a deeper understanding of communication.
And if you want to exclude others, just make up your own specialized jargon.
You mean like in school?
Yeah, whenever you read a paper that you can't understand the jargon, you know you're in trouble.
Or just in graduate school.
Postmodern graduate studies.
Marxism.
Yes, but let's stay on topic. Stealing my food!
So, if you steal my food, first I acknowledge that I too have it in me to steal. Then I recognize that you are me, that you are a reflection of me, and in this way we have stolen together.
That's absurd!
Yes, it is, from our divisive way of thinking. But if you bring another
And
if you bring another perspective,
what do you mean another perspective? What are you talking about? I can only bring a real perspective.
Reality is only a construct of our minds.
Ugh! More postmodern crap.
No, law of attraction crap.
Right! Nothing is real. We make it all up.
It is all a social construct.
The problem is, there is an objective reality out there along with the constructs.
right, and we aren't creating everything in our lives, just some parts.
Wow.
Let's see about what is real. What is a mind?
Your mind is your brain at work.
We all have a brain. That much is true.
Oh, right. That is definitely objective reality.
And our brain is a product of our experiences built through our genetics.
If you experience only hate and pain as you grow, life will be that reality. And from your perspective, people will be untrustworthy.
Well, what if someone's kicking my ass every day? How do I know if people are trustworthy?
Exactly! Why would you? Your reality makes sense from your experience.
But if you and if you grow in love and cooperation.
Over there.
doomed from our experience?
No, we are taught from our experience. When we experience life, we think about the experience.
So we are doomed by our experience? No, we are taught by our experience. When we experience life, we think about the experience.
Which makes it real to us.
When we are in charge of our thoughts, we create our reality. With awareness, rather than it just happening to us. My thoughts are in my control. My thoughts are in my control.
Yes. For example, no matter what you do, you cannot make me angry unless I allow or choose. The anger is my response. That's right, you are not as powerful as you think.
But I get angry all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't tell you! No, seriously! And you can also change your mind. How?
When we are in charge of our thoughts, we create our reality. With awareness, rather than it just happening to us. My thoughts are in my control. My thoughts are in my control.
How do you think brainwashing happens? How do you think subliminal advertising works? How do you think conditioning works?
How?
If you really want to know how brainwashing works and what the most technological and creative minds are doing with it, go! Work for the Tavistock Institute!
Yes, they have been at it for a long time and executed experiments in World War II that are still in practice today. And let's not go off on a tangent. Do your own research. Look at it as
Our minds are our brains at work.
like Joe Dispenza says. Change the way your brain works and change your mind.
You may take Prozac.
Yeah, man, that is one way. Although, beware the side effects. For a small percentage of people on antidepressants go psychotic!
When we are in charge of our thoughts, we create our reality. With awareness, rather than it just happening to us. My thoughts are in my control. My thoughts are in my control. Your thoughts are in your control.
Isn't it ironic that the medicine you take to helps you hurts you?
All drugs have side effects. Ever notice how people on drugs end up taking more drugs?
Well, one part is getting treatment, another part is getting hurt.
Actually, this is exactly what the pharmaceutical companies want.
What?
Come on. Well, think about it. Big Pharma, like all other companies, have a responsibility to their shareholders to bring them
Profit.
Without profit, no business lasts.
Not if you're a banker.
Or a car maker?
Or an insurance giant.
Okay, point taken. But besides the besides the inconsistencies, inequities, and absurdities of our bailouts, businesses must make profits to stay in business in our capitalistic system that dominates the world.
Oh, that system is changing drastically right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, bankrupt companies are even selling stocks.
And the big banks are technically insolvent.
True. The capitalist system is falling apart due to government intervention.
Capitalism is blamed for everything today, when, in fact, it is based on free market principles that actually would have sunk all those insolvent companies we bailed out.
The real, old-fashioned companies that make good products and have money in the bank get penalized for their conservatism.
Nowadays, it seems everyone just wants a buck with no work attached.
Yep, the recent stimulus package lifted people out of poverty.
Are you kidding?
It's true. Crazy as hell, but true. The poverty levels lowered while people were in lockdown not working.
Whoa, that's absurd.
Yeah, and then you have all the people who are making more money on unemployment than if they worked, so they stayed unemployed and lived a good life. Oh, and then you have all the cheaters who actually did work but didn't claim it and got unemployment too.
Well, that's our system.
The way it is.
Everyone wants a profit, even without work.
Sure. Who needs land anymore? Now we got government.
And Big Pharma is no exception. They make drugs for sick people.
Without sick people, they would do no business. The more they make people sick, the more business they do.
That's why pharma has tried to control natural healing alternatives.
And remember that for thousands of years, all we had were natural remedies.
Yeah, but people got sick and died.
Yeah.
And they didn't live as long.
Yeah, but people still get sick and die. Did you know that doctors are a leading cause of death in the United States, while hospitals are as well?
People do live longer, you're right. Just look at all the old people in nursing homes and their wonderful lives that are filled with all the drugs that keep them alive.
Maybe that's why they were all killed from COVID.
Yes, taking drugs limits what you can change. Drugs control the mind.
People want convenience, right?
Yeah!
What could be more convenient than to take a pill? Or to give a pill to your child? And to believe that you are not responsible for your sickness. Neither is your doctor, and neither are you as a parent. It is all simply because you, or your child, or whoever, has a brain chemical imbalance. Ta-da!
And voila, everyone's happy. No one has responsibility or accountability. The sick person feels better, even though the root of the problem was never addressed. And Big Pharma makes a killing. Boy, I wish I had their privilege. They can make the vaccines, but they can't get sued for any vaccine injuries.
Yeah, but vaccines are safe.
Oh, really? Then why has our government paid out over $4 billion in vaccines injuries?
If you really want to change your mind, you must work on self-mastery. Gaining mastery over your thinking and your emotions is the start of raising your consciousness.
How?
The brain works on the principle.
Neurons that fire together, wire together. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Every thought fires neurons. Once that neural connection is made, the brain will want to repeat itself. Fire what it knows. Once it fires again, a second time, you have a habit starting. Uh-oh. Once that connection fires repeatedly, your brain will always go to that default thought.
Unless I change what I'm thinking.
Exactly. Willpower!
Yes, will and intention and hard work through meditation, self-reflection, and mental rehearsal will change your mind.
Yes, just like this but and stuff. I am already aware of this new thought. And even as I know this, my brain keeps repeating but, because I have built a strong network of buts in my life of thinking. So, in order to change my mind, I must work at gaining awareness, and then wanting the change, and then doing the change.
Mental rehearsal.
What's that?
You see, the brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is not.
Oh, come on.
Did you ever go to a horror flick and get really scared?
I look for flicks. They terrify me.
Me too.
So you see, even though it is a movie and not real, your brain still acts as if it is real. Your blood pressure rises. Your blood pressure rises, your heart beats faster, your adrenaline kicks in, and you jump at horror!
Now, if you go to the same movie and tell yourself the whole time that this isn't real,
This isn't real.
that there are people with cameras in the background,
Yeah,
and there are people to watch for safety,
right.
and there are stunt persons doing tricks,
That's not really him.
You will not be scared.
Oh,
You are, in essence, controlling your thoughts and therefore controlling your mind.
Yes, the brain only fires what is thought. If you think it is real, then it is.
Remember the first landowners? They didn't own anything until they thought they owned.
In mental rehearsal, we gain mastery over our brains by spending concentrated time purposefully firing thoughts we desire and living them in our minds. Not visualizing it as if we are outside watching, actually doing the thought. You want a better jump shot?
Yeah, my jump shot sucks.
Okay. Don't visualize a better jump shot while you watch yourself in your mind. Live the jump shot in your mind. Actually do it so your brain and your body get the actual experience. This experience will create
New and strong neural connections. Swoosh! Neurons that fire together, wire together.
That's right!
Neurons that fire together, wire together. Are you saying that by mentally rehearsing or doing an action in my mind, I can change my brain connections?
Check this out. Put out your hand, spread apart your fingers. With your fourth finger, press on your other hand.
Come on, do it with us.
In a study scientists did, they had people do this for a month. One group pressed a button with their fourth finger for an hour a day to increase its muscle. Another group mentally rehearsed it for an hour a day in their minds. The control group did nothing.
The group actually doing it improved their finger muscles by 35%.
Yeah! The control group did not improve at all. Duh.
And the group that mentally rehearsed improved 27%.
Yeah!
The brain is a powerful thing.
The haves have known this for eons and have dominated the minds of the have-nots by perfecting the ways of mind control.
I heard that the reason they put the deadly toxin fluoride
Rat poison!
in our water was to control our minds.
Well, that's another story. Never mind. Anyway, we can really see how important it is from this understanding that we teach our children how to create the brains they really need to be independent and mature.
If we raise our children in hate,
Hey! No, you're not. Shut up, no. You too.
Okay, no, me.
No child is born hateful.
No infant is born with bias. I don't care.
No infant is born religious.
No babies are born Republican or Democrat.
I want to vote! We condition our children with every thought, every thought. What we do to the infant shapes its development. We condition our children with every thought, every thought. What we do to the infant shapes its development.
Our genetic blueprint is meaningless?
All genes are pretty much exactly the same. It's the environment of the genes that regulates the on or off switch of the genes. It's called epigenetics.
Right, I remember now. Bruce Lipton made epigenetics a household name 15 years ago. So the genes are just a blueprint.
Unless the genes are turned on.
well, you can't turn on an infant. That's against the law.
But you can turn on their genes.
Levi's!
Place Mozart's child into a musical-less family, having never heard music. No music. No music. Thank you. How could he possibly use the great musical genes that he inherited? Impossible. The genes did not get turned on.
even if he learned music as an adult, it would not be the same.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Ever try changing your parents?
Oh boy.
So, the older you get, the harder it is to change, because your brain becomes hardwired by its conditioning.
Hence, the importance of conditioning our children very young. Remember?
We condition our children with every thought. What we do to the infant shapes its development. We condition our children with every thought. What we do to the infant shapes its development.
Mass education hurries the children into conformists. And by the time they're done being educated, they can rarely think outside the official doctrine.
That's how it is. Any independent thought is not tolerated.
Sounds like we need to unschool our children.
Actually, there is a movement afoot to unschool our children.
But then they will all be dumb.
What you think is your reality, crawl. Who taught you how to crawl?
No one, I learned it all by myself.
Walk. Who taught you how to walk?
Mom and Dad tried, but it didn't help. I learned it all by myself.
Maybe you didn't crawl long enough and are slower now because of it.
What do you mean? I'm slow because of my genes.
Crawling is an original brain-developing exercise of oppositional movement.
I guess I'll never be able to go back and fix that.
And crawling now will still help. Talk!
Mama! Dada!
Who taught you how to talk?
Sing!
Duh! Of course! Babies learn to talk all by themselves.
Read. Who taught you how to read?
Yeah.
No one. I learned it by watching. You see, the child learns by participating in the environment, not by being taught.
I had a music teacher once that said, "If you come to learn from me, you are saying you don't know music. Yet I tell you all the music you need to know is already inside of you."
Well, sure, it has to be. You carry the lineage of all the music and musicians before you.
Oh, if only I could tap into it.
Aha! That is the key! This is the path we need to explore.
So what kind of technology will help us find what's inside us?
The original technology of the mind-body. Meditation. Inward-looking breathing.
Before technology as we know it, there were great understandings out there.
The ancients knew centuries ago and predicted that 2012 would bring great change.
And now we have technology that proves that even without our technology, they were right.
In 2012, the sun, and therefore the earth, aligned itself with
The
center of the
Milky Way galaxy.
The original womb of existence. Mama, Mama, the original womb of existence. That's where we come from. The original womb of existence. Mama, Mama, we long for Mama, the center of our cosmos.
Amazing. The ancients knew so much.
Then wars and dogma destroyed so much.
The Library of Alexandria.
The Bible.
And cosmological, all-knowing intuition.
And now the Big Bangdemic is destroying honest medicine.
And the protests are erasing history.
Why?
The International Bankers.
The Trilateral Commission.
The Bilderberg Group.
The Council on Foreign Relations.
The Economic Forum at Davos.
Who are they?
Who are they? The New World Order.
Oh, no problem then. They will save the planet and all of us. With
One world government. One world currency. One world military. And one world law.
under the UN Agenda 21.
Look Look it up if you don't believe us.
Don't believe anything we say, do your research.
Oh, really? You mean I have to study?
Lulled into submission, lulled into submission, lulled into submission, 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 lulled into submission, lulled into submission, lulled into submission, submission, submission.
These groups have members from the top economies of the world.
Infiltration, right?
That's right, that's right.
And they are not all governments, no. They influence and run governments.
In fact, over 50 of the top world economies are corporations. You ready?
Walmart, number 10.
BP, number 27.
ExxonMobil number 21.
GM, number 23. Ha! Oops. No wonder we couldn't live without them.
We saved all the big kahunies. Come on.
Come on.
Citigroup, number 54. AIG, number 61. Bank of America, 105. JP Morgan, 118.
Of the top 200 economies of the world, guess how many are corporations?
157 of them.
Holy crap! The world is run by corporations, not countries.
And they don't need to face elections.
Like Big Bangdemic director.
Like Big Bangdemic director, Bill Gates, Bill Gates. Oh yeah.
They decide what they want with their shareholders.
You mean these elite moneymakers have agendas for the world?
These groups meet in secret meetings and plan their strategies for globalization. Like the Big Bangdemic, Gates sponsored, Davos attended, and John Hopkins made up coronavirus pandemic computer modeled simulation. Event 201.
Now, national boundaries will not exist.
Governments will not run the world.
These international institutions, such as the United Nations, the World Bank, and NATO, will determine the world decisions. I mean, look at the WHO, World Health Organization, funded mostly by Big Bangdemic Bill Gates.
And these institutions are manned and run by these secret groups.
Sounds okay to me.
Unless you happen to disagree with their policy.
There will be no middle class. Have you noticed already it is shrinking? There will be the elite and their ways.
The middle class is dying as the elite get richer every day.
The top richest 1% gets 65 cents of every dollar of growth.
The other 99% get to split the remaining 35 cents.
26 rich people own as much as 50% of the world population.
What?
And there will be slaves to the system, worse than we have today.
Oh my God, you guys are just blaming everything on the elites.
Well, what the heck do you think the elites want of the world?
Haven't you read anything?
Like Agenda 21?
Brave New World, Huxley said we would all be happy slaves.
And so we are. We all sheepishly crawled back into our cages we call home when the rulers told us to, all because of a virus.
All too happily, sir.
There are 10 to the 31 viruses all around us. 10 to the 31. And we're so scared of one.
And be prepared for the coming apocalyptic financial crisis.
It'll make the 2008 crisis a cakewalk.
Yes, some can see that these crises are indicative of the self-destructive nature of man. More man-made structures that do not reflect nature will inevitably fall from their false concepts of never-ending credit, debt, and power.
Perhaps we have outgrown the need for money.
Indeed, many folks think this same thought. Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin after the last crisis. And this digital currency has been beating the stock market's ass for the last 10 years.
Well, I'd still rather have Amazon stock.
Think again, McFly, but if you bought $100 worth of Amazon stock 10 years ago, you'd have a return of over 3,000%.
Ha! Yeah, girlfriend!
But if you bought $100 of Bitcoin 10 years ago, your return would be over 9,000,000%.
Sucks to be me. Well, if you think about it, we have enough
Stuff to feed.
House
And heal.
the billions of people on our planet without any money at all. Overpopulation is a myth.
If we lived in accord with nature, we would not think overpopulation at all.
Yes, money was originally created for reasons we can grow right out of.
Early mutual aid communities had no need for money and they thrived.
But that hadn't been thought up yet.
If everyone lives in abundance, who needs money?
Yeah, right. What a pipe dream.
All it takes is a shift of the mind.
Change your brain, change your mind, and change the world.
Neurons that fire together, wire together.
That's right.
Neurons that fire together, wire together. We condition our children with every thought, every thought. What we do to the infant shapes its development. Neurons that fire together, wire together. That's right. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Okay, so where is the meaning in all of this?
Yeah, life seems so meaningless in the Big Bangdemic.
The meaning comes from the development of man as he strives to reunite himself with the Creator, the Mama, by knowing himself as the source itself.
To heal the original separation of birth by knowing the connection to Mama and Mama's Mama and all the rest of Mama's Mamas is in our fractal reflection of the origin.
We are at a crossroads.
We have time left. A little.
We can do this!
We are perhaps about to come home.
The return of the prodigal son.
I want my mama.
The mama knows it all.
Don't mess with Mama!
In fact, our American Constitution is based from the earlier Iroquois Constitution, in which only
R-A-S-P-E-C-T, women.
could choose the chiefs.
See, the Iroquois understood that only a woman can know what is in a man's heart.
And only a woman could know how it felt to bury a loved one after battle.
Only a woman could decide if a battle was worth the cost of life.
Boy, did we stray from that!
And we are straying from the Constitution altogether.
Yeah, but come on. That document was written a long time ago.
It's out of date and needs to be rewritten.
Good luck
Good
with
luck with
that.
that. I know. Let's just keep it simple and replace it with the Communist Manifesto.
Hey, I have an idea. Let's make it a new rule. Only women can be leaders.
Yeah, sorry, but even women have lost their connection with nature.
Yes, it is not women we need. It's the feminine spirit.
The masculine solar spirit brought us great technology and progress.
And
Central banking.
Only it was devoid of the feminine spirit of nurturance,
which needs compassion.
which takes us back to the golden.
Do unto others as you shall have them do unto you. You are the other, and the other is you.
Isn't it obvious by now that we're all striving for the same thing?
A good life with abundance and happiness. Happiness. A good life with abundance and happiness.
We are all caught in the myth that we need to fight to survive.
Isn't it common sense to understand that the only true path to safety and survival is to live in harmony?
We are one species.
This time of upheaval and change is our chance to to remember.
To bring it all back together.
One child at a time, one person at a time. One child, one person at a time.
Each one sending out vibrations of compassionate connectedness.
Until there is so much energy of love and relatedness.
That it sweeps across the planet and engulfs the masses in its
Breeze of light illuminating earth as above. We are responsible to the cosmos personally. Personal responsibility is our true power. Master your mind and then you can master yourself. Your actions count. You are a butterfly, a butterfly. Each act ripples out into the field of relatedness. Open your eyes, see the effect. Do not fear, embrace the change. Open your eyes, see the effect. Do not fear, embrace the change. Even the sacrifice is a cost. You are all